He's coming to us. So that's what we use.
Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So you've probably seen at least a little bit of the Infinity War trailer. Everybody's been messaging me to do a video for it. I've done a breakdown, but there are a couple of things that I want to address in this, namely Spider-Man's role and what happens to him at the end of that and what it implies for the future of the character, as well as the bomb that Kevin Feige dropped that Captain Marvel is going to fight the Kree and the Skrulls during the 90s in her movie. So if you're new to the channel, I do comic book stuff every week. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. But we'll start with Infinity War trailer, then we'll do Kree-Skrull War, and we'll talk about Secret Invasion. Because there are a couple hoops that we have to jump through to get to that, and a lot of you probably saw the idea that Captain Marvel's fighting the Skrulls in the 90s and thought, oh my god, they might be doing Secret Invasion for the 4th Avengers film. Yes, I do think that's happening, but first things first, Spider-Man in the Infinity War trailer. So you have Thanos beating the shit out of everybody. Then you see Peter in the Iron Spider suit. Iron Man rushes up to him like he did during Civil War, and it looks like he's dying. That's what a lot of people were commenting at me. Oh my god, does Spider-Man die during Infinity War? Most of you know that that's probably ridiculous because we already know Spider-Man 2 is coming out right after the 4th Avengers film. It's supposed to pick up minutes after the 4th Avengers film takes place, and they said it's going to shatter what you think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, they didn't say that a bunch of characters are going to die. They just said that everything that's happening with the 4th Avengers film in Spider-Man 2 is going to completely shift the way you think about Marvel. But all that's going on in this Infinity War footage is that they get their asses handed to them. Mark Ruffalo joked that everybody dies. But that's just a way of saying that Thanos is going to bring them to their knees in the most spectacular fashion possible, Thanos Quest style. The Infinity Gauntlet itself looks amazing. If you look at the old version from the first Thor film, this is from Odin's vault. Look at how it's changed over time. Doesn't it look so much better? And this is the life-size version, so if Thanos were real and you stood next to him, this is how big his gauntlet would be. But while they were dropping all these Infinity War bombs, they revealed that Captain Marvel will not fight alongside the Avengers during Infinity War. So like she's not going to have her Captain Marvel outfit on, she's not going to blast the shit out of Thanos because she's supposed to be one of the most powerful new characters they've ever introduced, so why wouldn't she help them out? They did not say why, but they did say that in the Captain Marvel movie, which is going to be released between the 2 Avengers films, so you get Infinity War, Captain Marvel, then the 4th Avengers film is going to happen. It's going to take place in the 90s. It's going to deal with her origin story. And based on the concept footage they showed off earlier in the year and the stuff they showed off at Comic-Con, they're going to be doing a version of the Kree-Skrull War. It predates everything in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far that we've seen, but we know that there were other heroes because there was the Hank Pym version of Ant-Man, we saw a slightly older version of Peggy Carter, so there was Avengers-related stuff happening, but not the Avengers as you know it. That didn't start till 2008 with the first Iron Man film. The concept footage showed her in her costume. It'll probably look a little bit different when it hits the screen. Concept art isn't always 100% accurate, but it'll be pretty close to this. She's fighting the Kree here, then they showed off concept art of Skrulls, but what that implies is that they're going to do a version of the Kree-Skrull War, and her origin story will be tied up in that. If you've ever read any version of Carol Danvers' origin story in the comics, how she gets infused with this crazy weapon energy, and that's where her power comes from, eventually Captain Marvel gets cancer and dies off, and that serves as the impetus for her to step up. There's some things in that story that sound a lot like the things that show up during the concept footage that they showed off from the Captain Marvel movie earlier this year. They showed a bunch of Kree stuff, they showed a bunch of Air Force stuff, and they showed her fighting this giant robot, just basically doing things that were worthy of her power levels. So that sounds a little bit like some of the things that pop up during the Kree-Skrull War storyline. So in the way that Marvel changes all the comics, you don't have to read that comic book in order to understand what's going on in the movie. All you need to know is that the Kree and the Skrulls had been fighting for a long time. One of the many weapons that the Kree created during this time to try and fight them were the Inhumans. They sort of gave up on that experiment a long time ago and left them to their own devices. Then you wind up with Black Bolt and all the Inhumans that you know today, years and years later. But it's this long-standing space war that they've had, this blood feud between their peoples. So because they said that that reads a lot like Green Lantern, they said that they're going to change the way she gets her powers, but I don't think it's going to be that much different. She'll probably just get her DNA scrambled by a Kree weapon. No idea if they're going to try and do the original version of Captain Marvel or how they're going to tie the Kree to Earth in the 90s, but she winds up getting caught between the Kree and the Skrulls with all these crazy powers. So in the way that you have Captain America, Winter Soldier, everybody was secretly Hydra, it looks like now the new thing is everybody was secretly a Skrull. So Secret Invasion, Avengers 4, Who Do You Trust? Longtime comic book readers will also remember that Secret Invasion was the big event that Marvel did right after Civil War. And the whole principle is that the Skrulls are trying to take over Earth, but they put a bunch of sleeper agents in positions of power and just slowly precipitate the destabilization of everything through the course of Civil War. So like all this crazy stuff happens, friends against friends, everyone's decimated, and that's when the Skrulls choose their time to strike. So what better time to do a version of this than when Earth is destabilized after Thanos in Infinity War? He's going to crush everyone, there'll be death and destruction everywhere. If you were waiting for heroes to be at their weakest, that would be the moment to strike. And for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's not going to get any worse than that as far as we know. So the easy takeaway is that you go from everybody was Hydra to everybody is a Skrull to Spider-Man 2, and that's the beginning of Phase 4. It'll literally be the very first movie of Marvel Phase 4. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about the Infinity War trailer? What do you think about the idea that Marvel might be doing Secret Invasion? Now, they might decide to call it something different, but if they're introducing the Skrulls in a big way, there's just so many ways that you can twist your existing characters without things getting out of control. Who do you trust? Just imagine an evil version of Iron Man that's secretly a Skrull. Oh, that would explain why he was such an asshole when he and Captain America were going at it. That would also explain why Captain America's judgment was so bad during Civil War. But for those of you asking how Marvel is able to do the Skrulls because they're largely Fantastic Four characters, the way they explain it is that big space races are open to both studios. It's just specific characters like the Super Skrull that Marvel can't do. Super Skrull belongs to Fox, but I'm sure there's also a little bit of haggling back and forth between the lawyers at the studios like, oh, you know, you're going to be doing this story. Make sure you don't do X, Y, and Z. So it gets a little complicated, but effectively, Skrulls are open territory for Marvel to do. What's going to happen is there's a bunch more Marvel stuff that I wasn't able to do around Comic-Con. There's just way too many things. So if there are any bonus videos from Comic-Con you want me to do, just let me know in the comments below. But there will be more of that over the next couple of days. New Game of Thrones posting on Sunday, obviously. New Rick and Morty this weekend, too. Congratulations to the latest Marvel giveaway winner, Soham Talakar. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. While you wait for everything, you can click here to rewatch the Thor Ragnarok trailer, and you can click here for brand new Game of Thrones. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.